he hated white people so much that he said, even if you find a good white man, kill him before he turns bad.
Lessons for Life, 24/7. And once again, I welcome back on the line, Triple T. Are you there?
I am. Thank you for having me on, sir.
Welcome back. Hearing you loud and clear. Thursday was the anniversary of the death of Malcolm X, or you might say the martyrdom of Malcolm X. What did he mean to you as a leader?
To me, Malcolm X meant absolutely everything. When I was a young man, and I hadn't read a single book until I was 26 or 27. And that was the first book I ever read. And when I delineated through his book, went through it, and I recall staying up all night. It took me maybe 6 days. I stayed up all night reading that book, The Autobiography of Malcolm X. And in the book, Malcolm, when in prison, he memorized the entire dictionary. He wrote it out by hand, and then he memorized it. And I did exactly the same. I was so enamored by him. And so for me, indeed, he meant absolutely everything. And today, where my life is, I'm sure it wouldn't have taken that turn if it wasn't for Malcolm X.
I remember clearly one of his famous quotes when he spoke about the difference between the house Negro and the field Negro. And the house Negro being the slave that was kept inside the house, given a comfortable, good life, and kind of respected the master in a sort of Uncle Tom type way, contrasted with the field Negro, who was beaten and abused and worked outside under the sun. And he said that he was a field Negro. Do you think there are field Negroes, so to speak, running the country at the moment? Are there people that you would accuse of being Uncle Toms, ethnic minorities who are doing the white man's bidding?
Well, yes. Unfortunately, Sajid Javid, the Home Secretary, for him being a Muslim, being a brown man, and then being the first
Is he a
to
Muslim?
strip. Well, I should say ostensibly a Muslim.
He's of a Muslim background.
Of a Muslim background, like many of us.
Mm-hmm.
But I guess even being a brown man, or at least growing up a Muslim, perhaps, he should have had some type of solidarity with this young girl. She's a brown woman, he's a brown man at the very least. Instead, he was the first one to stand up and say, no, I'm going to strip her of her nationality, which was illegal. A day later, everything he said was abrogated, and he was undermined by someone, and she regained her citizenship. So I do start to wonder, is he playing that role of that so-called house Negro, if I use that term interchangeably?
Does it make you sad that someone in his position doesn't embrace their Muslim identity, whether he's a believer or not? I believe he is nominally Christian. If I've done my research correctly, he describes himself as a Christian, and he's of a Muslim background, but is not particularly religious.
Well, it's kind of like a contradiction if he's a nominal Christian, but yet sort of Muslim. But either way, I think the religions are not far off. It doesn't upset me that he's almost reneged on his faith. For me,
I believe he has. I don't think he describes himself as a believing Muslim. We'll double check.
It doesn't matter.
Okay.
There's a Muslim Defense League out there, and there's even a Brown Defense League out there also alongside that, I'm sure. And either way, he is a brown man, and you think he would have had more of a solidarity with other brown people in this country. Now, many of us are, even though in this country we are suffering and we are in pain, and we need someone to come down to the gutter, just like Malcolm X in his book. And I hope your viewers will pick up the autobiography of Malcolm X and read the many books by Manning Marable and by Benjamin Karim and so on, and learn from that. He would come into the ghettos where the little people are suffering, hooked up on crack and cocaine and drugs and cigarettes and everything, and he would speak to them, and people said that they were changed. They went into the hall, heard Malcolm X speak, and they were never the same people ever again. And especially the biggest lesson that we take from Malcolm X is he was at one time the #1 racist in America or even in the world. He hated white people so much that he said, even if you find a good white man, kill him before he turns bad. So a person who had this much hatred goes to Hajj, and in his book he writes that I saw Scottish Muslims and I saw Irish Muslims and I saw German Muslims, that were white people. They never saw themselves as white. They just saw themselves as ordinary human beings, just like the black people were. And he said, if America understands Islam, then maybe there can be peace. But if the #1 racist human on earth can change, the lesson is that we can all indeed change.
And that's when it's changed for him on Hajj.
Hajj, yes, was indeed a huge change for Malcolm X, and therefore he changed his name from Malcolm X to Al-Hajj Malik al-Shabazz.
In 2019, what do you think is more difficult, to be a practicing Muslim or to be a man with a brown skin, to be of an Asian background? Which is the more difficult ethnic group or ethno-religious group? Because you can't change your skin colour, but you can renounce your faith.
Yeah, this is what people do. They renounce their faith, which is their right, and you are right. They can't change their skin color, but I can't imagine anyone wanting to change their skin color. They are what they are, and they should be proud of it. You get the Uncle Tom types up in Westminster and so on who hate the color of their skin, but being a Muslim, we are all equal, and not only being a Muslim, but being a good person, we have to understand that we are all equal. If it's tough for Muslims, then it's tough for human beings, and we should be putting our arms around Muslims and telling them that it's okay. Do not live in fear, and that is one of the greatest things about Britain, is that there is religious freedom for almost all. So we should be helping people when we see that they are down and they are in need for assistance and guidance.
Triple T, once again, thank you for your time, thank you for your wisdom. It's always a pleasure to have you on the line.
Thank you, and on the contrary, the pleasure is always mine. Thank you.
Very kind, thank you.